Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about tomorrow's best of my team super packs that have been leaked that include GOAT Magic Johnson. That's a pretty awesome card, I feel like, to be coming out on a Tuesday super pack drop. But I guess I could say, I mean, they've done a couple other really good cards on Tuesdays too. Dirk's been awesome. Tim Duncan's been awesome. Larry's been awesome. They've dropped some really, really great NBA legends in these best of my team super packs. Definitely, I would say overall, probably one of the deeper sets of Tuesday drops we've seen this year. I will say that. Obviously, at the end of the year, that is kind of what you would expect. But I do want to just real quickly, before we even hop into these cards, just take a look at all the best of my team cards that dropped, because there are a lot of good cards that came out this year in best of my team. Hopefully, they'll all show here. I believe this should work. Yeah. So Embiid, Tim Duncan, Larry Bird, Dirk. I mean, NBA legends, and then honestly the Invincibles too. A lot of NBA legends there, and even some good names in the 100 overall. Some fun cards too. Like, honestly, I think they've actually done a decent job in terms of the cards that they've dropped on Tuesdays this season. That's one of those things that I think I've criticized in the past, and I do want to point out that I actually do think they've done a pretty good job of that recently, and I hope that continues, because guys like, I mean, good Tuesday drops that have good cards are exciting. You know what I mean? I will say that. And with that being said, this is a good one. George Gervin has a lot of potential to be a really good point guard if he has good sigs and good jumper. Paul Millsap could be an awesome invincible shooting guard. 6'8", big player build, versatile, quality defender. Jarrett Allen's a little bit small at this point in the year. In fact, I think he's very small because he's only listed like 6'9". So he's one of those guys that unfortunately probably isn't as good of a card as you would hope he would be, because he's just not quite big enough to really be elite, but he's an interesting name too, and he's had good cards in the past. But I do think at power forward, he's just a little too undersized at this point in the year. But again, it's another solid drop with multiple good cards. And I mean, Gervin's 6'7" point guard. Like, that's a guy who could be one of the better attainable point guards in my team, 100%. So we'll see what he looks like tomorrow as well. But I will say it's not bad. Now, I'm not a big fan of super packs the way they've done them, like basically the last several seasons at this point. I don't remember which season it was that they started doing Tuesday super packs, but I just don't think that's something that needs to be happening. It has limited the supply on Tuesday cards more, and it's just, I don't think it's going to change, but I just don't love it. It feels very money hungry on a weekly basis is what I will say. So I don't know. I'd like to see them not be so antsy with the super packs next year. Maybe a little more just like actual depth to Tuesday content, creativity, and maybe some more grindable Tuesday drops. Like I mean, for all the things I didn't like in 2K24, that was one of the things that I would say I did in 2K24, was that I felt like they did a good job of before that. I mean, there were super packs on Tuesdays too still, but a lot of the seasons had grindable Tuesday drops, which was kind of cool. Magic is going to be a great card, though. He might even be arguably the best card in this entire, like, that's come out period in these best of my team packs. We'll see, but he's 6'9", 7'1" wingspan, probably going to be very, very, very good. I would hope they have given a new jumper. They probably will. They've given almost all the GOAT cards new jumpers from their Invincibles or 100 overalls or whatever, their previous cards. And he'll have better sigs than this, although his sigs will be similar, but he'll have Curry escape instead of Kemba. He'll have Levine step back instead of Harden. And those will be the two main sig changes from this card, which will be helpful, but not hugely game changing. I just think the jump shot is where this Invincible Magic was held back a bit. I didn't love his shot. I would assume GOAT Magic will probably have a much better jumper with one of those like meta standard uppers, something like a probably Oscar Robertson or Colin Sexton in all likelihood, realistically. So we'll see what they wind up doing, but that's what I expect. So I think Magic will be really good. Obviously, I don't think that's a surprise or a hot take. You know what I mean? But I do think it's expected that he'll be really, really good. Paul Millsap's another guy who's probably going to be an interesting Invincible, though, to be honest. I'm a little surprised, to be honest, that Paul Millsap is getting an Invincible, just because I guess 6'8" with a 7'1" wingspan. Yes, he's a good card, a good size, but he was a good NBA player too. But I don't know. I just didn't expect him to get an Invincible card, but I'm not complaining. He is good size to shooting guard position. I like that they didn't make this card small forward, power forward. His out of position card was shooting guard, small forward. But I think at this point in the year, even if it is an out of position card, I know Millsap didn't play shooting guard in real life, I don't mind them giving us a good Paul Millsap card. And he is definitely better with the ability to play shooting guard than he would be without it. Like, that's just the simple truth of the matter. So I like the look of this card. I think he's going to be very, very solid. And he's another guy who jumper and sigs matter a lot. Obviously, I would say the animations on this Galaxy Opal weren't there with D-Book dribble style and KD escape and some of the sigs that aren't quite as good, but they could obviously change those very easily and change the jumper. Give him Pro 2 fade. I would assume he'll have both those things as well. Be a really, really good card. So that's a solid option for sure. The other 200 overalls, again, like I said, I don't think Jarrett Allen's that exciting, but we will touch on him briefly. But I want to start with Gervin, just because I think Gervin is probably the most interesting, the more interesting of the 100 overalls for sure, because he's 6'7" with a 6'10" wingspan, and honestly, a pretty good player build too. So I would say size-wise, he's a pretty solid option at the point guard position. And so the question is going to be animations, because his jumper's not very good. His SIGs were trash for the most part, really, on this Dark Matter. This card just wasn't very good, I feel like, by the time he came out. Obviously, I would expect a new jumper and some new SIGs and stuff like that, but the completeness of those SIGs and the quality of the jumper are going to be the things that, of course, decide whether or not George Gervin is actually one of the best attainable point guards in the game. But if he has the right SIGs and animations, this is a guy who's 6'7" with 6'10" wingspan at the point guard position, has a pretty good player build. Could absolutely be a very, very good budget point guard for people who are still looking for PG options at this point in the year, of which I know there are some. So again, a pretty interesting name there. And then the final name that I will mention as well is Jarrett Allen. We'll talk about him, even though he's not that exciting. Hasn't gotten a card since his diamond, though. That's a guy who, like, he was pretty darn good this year. He had a really solid year. I feel like he had some all-star buzz. That's a guy who you'd expect to get more than one card all year, basically. He had what, a Gems of the Game card that was out day one, and this Emerald, that's his base cards, out day one, and then he got, and I think this other Gems of the Game, I think all three of these cards were out day one. So he literally got 2 cards all year, a Diamond Storylines card in November, and then not a single other card until July 28th. I don't know. That's kind of one of those things where I think people have valid criticisms at times to be like, you could be a little more creative with the names you give us. Because this is a guy who was like a borderline all-star, really good NBA player this year, and hasn't gotten a card in a while. So I don't know. To me, that would be something that I would love to see tweaked a bit, but whatever. Either way, Jarrett Allen, 6'9" with a 7'5" wingspan. Of course, his stats and badges will be awesome, but at the end of the day, even with the 7'5" wingspan, and he's got an afro that makes him look taller than 6'9", of course, because obviously Jarrett Allen's got a huge afro. But even with that being the case, I do still think this card is probably a card who is, at best, a bit limited by his size, just because even with the afro, even if he looks 6'10" or 6'11" with 7'5" wingspan, that's still undersized compared to a lot of the guys that people are using at the power forward position at this point in the year. So we'll see. He could be a very solid card. I definitely think he will be a decent option, at least. Will he be a spectacular one? Probably not. Size will hold him back a little bit. His jumper's not bad. We'll see if they give him his base jumper or like change his upper or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them change his upper realistically, because he's got his own jumper already, and his jumper base is on several top tier cards. 2K's put it on several better, like Brook Lopez, Zach Edey, Grego, and guys like that are pretty good cards. So we'll see if they change his upper and just give him his same base or something, or if they just leave it the same. I don't really know. Maybe they'll change the jumper entirely. Who knows? That being said, look, it's a little underwhelming, but Gervin's good. Millsap's good. Magic's great. Super packs themselves are underwhelming. I think the content at this point in the year is underwhelming, but the drop itself isn't that bad. I don't know. I'm not too mad about it, I guess. Whatever. I wouldn't spend money on this. I think y'all know that that's my opinion. I hope y'all did enjoy the video, though. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.